Hi, it's Nolan Sanker, and I'm going to tell you the three main causes for the Civil War. The number one reason for the conflict and the start of the Civil War was because slavery. The South, known as the Confederates, they relied on slavery for their industrialization and for economic growth. The North didn't agree with slavery, and there were people who tried to go against it, known as abolitionists. They were the people who tried to put slavery to an end, and at the end of the day, they did. Many wealthy landowners in the South were very fearful that ending slavery was going to put their business at a risk because all the wealthy people had very big plantations that needed to be ran by hundreds or multiple slaves, and by removing these slaves would put an end to their land with their plantations. Once slavery was put to an end and the movement was being stopped, many of the plantations' income decreased rapidly because of states' rights. Many different states believed that they didn't have enough power or they didn't have enough free right or free will that they should have had, and they thought it was unfair how other states would have more rights than others. Southern states, in fact, they thought that the federal government was taking away from their rights and powers and their ability to do so. When the Constitution was wrote, it was wrote by very weak powers, and it was only when there were 13 colonies. This is why many of the Confederate states disagree with the Constitution, because they feel as if it was written incomplete and that there was not enough information and enough people to be writing a constitution. Because they wanted free rights and they wanted to have more power, they decided to break upon the Union and become known as the Confederate States. Another reason for the start of the Civil War is secession. When Abraham Lincoln was selected by the government to be president and by the people, a huge outbreak began from the Confederate States, which were around, I think, 11 states, and it started with South Carolina, and they decided to break off and become the Confederate States and be on a part of the Union. When this happened, Abraham Lincoln heard, and right away he told them that they didn't have the right to do this. And Abraham Lincoln sent troops down to the South in South Carolina, and that's when the attack began. He offered the Southern people a chance to come back and a chance to make it right, but they declined, and Abraham Lincoln took actions by leading his troops right into battle.